Welcome to another episode of Wounded to Wonderful. My name is Edna White and I welcome you, and I'm excited to get going on the subject of today. And today's subject is fear. I want you to consider fear in your home as you grew up. It was not something that we really thought was fear or we considered it to be fear, but it became fear. For me, as loving as my mom was in certain situations, eating or dinner time was a very fearful time for me. So, eating kind of put me on edge all the time. So when it was dinner time, I was on edge because I knew that I was not going to like something at the table, and because of my mom's upbringing, she instilled that in me. You're going to eat everything on the table, even if I had everything that I liked. So, retraining myself when I had my children, I never instilled that fear because I believed it stopped them from eating or trying other things. And for me, it stopped me from trying other things. Now that I am an older stage in my life, I can choose. I can pick and choose. So, for most of us in our lives as children, choice wasn't given to us because of our financial situations with our parents. But we have to learn that, that fear, that is fear. We have to realize that that is fear. And fear will stop us from accomplishing a lot of things. Now, at a young age, I began, because of that fear, and because I could not express certain things, I began to not trust a lot of people. So, the world around me was not so inviting because I didn't invite it. While my mother was, creating a good environment for me, which she thought was love, it still masked fear. So I lost trust, and or the people that were supposed to protect me, I felt that they weren't trustworthy and didn't know, or was entrusted to know that I didn't like peas. But because they instituted or introduced them to me anyway, because I didn't like them, they should have known that. And so I began to not trust many people. I began to limit myself on friendships, relationships, and just pure fun. I felt like a lone wolf most of the time. And I know now, as an entrepreneur, as an author, as a speaker, as a writer, I know now that being a lone wolf, you can't do things as a lone wolf. You can say that, but how do you create other lone wolves? You have to have other wolves. So, in the beginning of my career, I was isolated, not on purpose, but I began to reach out to other people who didn't trust other people because of their pasts. And I never obtained the information I needed to go so much further in my career. But I still gained success in the areas that I taught myself. But what I'm telling you today is I started learning to guard myself, that I didn't need to guard myself. Because the more that I guarded myself in business and love and relationships, the more that I limited myself. Limited my learning. I limited my landscape. My landscape began to be my front yard instead of the whole world. So we need to, and we even need to learn to trust ourselves. Trust ourselves enough to know that our decisions that we make, even if they're wrong, we can make them right. A mistake is a miss of an action that you take. So it's a miss. It's the wrong turn. So if you make a wrong turn, you go back and you turn the way you're supposed to. It's just that simple. We take life too literal, and that we're on this fence, or we're on this gate, or we're on this tightrope of life, that if we make a mistake, we're going to fall off. Well, when you fall off the fence, it's either one side or the other. So how do you get back on the other side? You have to hop back on the fence or hop back on the line. Easy, simple. We don't think about the ending part of that. We always pick up the beginning part of something and forget about the comma. The comma is the change. The comma is life. The comma is an option or a choice to just correct what you just did. It's simple as that. Now, getting back to trust, I even began to trust myself more. I started to embrace the fact that I knew certain things that when I spoke to anyone. For many years, I was working in the church as an evangelist and assistant pastor. I had momentous ideas, but because of the limiting thoughts and ideals of the church system that I was in, I wasn't allowed to speak. I wasn't supposed to speak. So I began to distrust myself, both in the natural, my natural physical life, my body, my professional life, and my spiritual. When you're connected in all those three things and you have no way to push out, it really makes you broken. So here I am, a blooming flower, and now I am being crushed by the outside forces. So now I'm back in the box yet again. In order for me to break free from that, I had to begin to trust. So trust that I am making the right decision to leave. Trust that I'm making the right decision to speak out. Trust that I'm making the right decision to have my own relationships. Here again, now I'm blossoming at an older age, but everything goes full circle. Everything is like an onion, as I speak about in my book, Stuff, Giving Voice to the Secret. I talk about an onion all the time, that life is an onion. You're always peeling it back. You're crying, you're shedding tears, but you're moving on. You're addressing the layer that you are in at that moment. Today I'm talking about trust. And trust is the core to yourself, in your calling, in this world around you, and in the universe. My first beginnings of trust is trusting myself. The second is to trust the world. When I began to trust the world, I would go on walks. I would speed walk 5 days a week for 5 miles a day, early morning. And I had to begin, I was walking on the highways. And, I saw trees and things and birds and things like that. But I had to begin to trust the world. I had to begin to trust the area that I was in. I had to begin to recognize the area, recognize the trees, the birds, the bees, the animals, the people, the traffic. I had to recognize that and recognize that I was part of that and trust the fact that I would be able to make the 5 miles and come home safely. As I did that, I began to recognize and feel the plants, recognize and feel and see the insects, the animals, recognize and feel the soil under my feet, recognize and see the people in cars, how close the cars were, recognize, really recognize, and sometimes we don't. We take a lot of things for granted. But trusting the fact that you're making a good decision for your health, for your life, for your love, and all those around you, you'll see the universe. The universe is made of not just one circle, but a vast variety of stars, planets, and even beyond, where we are able to recognize those things and not limit ourselves. So, trust yourself, believe in yourself, and trust the universe. Begin to break away from all that is negative, all that is fearful, because there's nothing else. There's either fear or love. So, if you're fearful about loving someone or yourself, you're not in full fear. You're not in real love. If you're fearful of a relationship, you're not in real love. If you're fearful of bees, animals, whatever, you're not in real love. And if you're fearful to step outside your door to the universe, you're not in real love. There's only two things in this world. There's only two things. Fear and love. That's it. There's no like. There's none of that in-between stuff. There's no maybe. There's only two things. And I say I never like the word like because I feel like is thrown around a lot. And I enjoy some things, but I don't like a lot of things because enjoy is part of joy. So that's today's message. See you next time around.